What were the biggest takeaways between the Sixers and the Nets? Who were the players of the game? All that and more on the latest Sixers post-game live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sixers Postgame Live. We are back after, I think, a relatively short offseason. We are breaking down everything we learned between the Sixers and Nets. To help me do it, my man Sean. It's been too long. What's going on, Sean?
Yeah, it has. I am happy to have Sixers basketball back. Felt good to just see everybody out there tonight. See just real Sixers basketball. We've done the whole offseason spiel, all the mock trades, all the draft stuff, and we finally see this team on the floor. So felt good to see it again tonight.
Absolutely. Feels like Summer League was just like yesterday. But here we go. Joining me, my man Freddie from Edge of Philly Sports. What's going on, dude?
Great to have basketball back, like you said, and that third and fourth quarter kind of reminded me of Summer League again.
Let's jump right into our top takeaways. We gotta lead us off here with Tyrese freaking Maxey. Was absolutely unbelievable. The shot making, the first back-to-back pull-up three-pointers, the attacking the basket. The dude was absolutely insane. It almost gave me 2001 vibes with all those defensive pieces out there surrounding Maxey. And Maxey just getting the 100% green light to just jack up everything. And he was sensational. I think he had 20 points in the first half on just a few shots, seemingly. Just an incredibly efficient night for Tyrese Maxey. I'll throw it to you, Sean. What was your take on Tyrese Maxey today?
Yeah, he's taken every opportunity and running with it, just like we've come to expect from him at this point. Started right out of the gate, had the pull-up three on the first possession, had another three the second possession down the floor. I also was really impressed with the decision-making. There were a couple of nice passes and little just quick dishes off. He talked a lot about in the summer working on some like live read action stuff rather than just drill work, and I kind of saw that tonight. Like he had one where he fed B-ball Paul on a nice roll. A couple of those moments. So if he can continue developing as a passer, that speaks volumes for his potential. And just overall, like I'm done setting a ceiling for this guy. He just continually impresses me. And tonight was another example of that.
I was like literally after like the first quarter. So I was like, just put the guy in bubble wrap. Yeah. Let's move on through the preseason. I've seen enough. Tyrese Maxey. You know, we have talked ad nauseum about that meteoric rise between his year one and year two and what that could look like in year three. But what a debut. What about you, Fred?
I just right away with Maxey, and I noticed the possession before that, his first three anyhow. Ben gets it running point guard. He runs off a screen, somehow gets set up in the lane with Reed on him at that point, where however they switched off. And he had the open jump. He could have took the jumper, and he got froze up and passed it off. And then immediately you just watch Maxey and how much better as a point guard we are with him on the floor as he just comes down, had the wide open look, and just knocked it down. No fear, no anything. This kid, like you said, Sean, this you can't put a ceiling on him. He works his butt off. I remember on draft night just looking on YouTube about like how much he was in the gym at 5 a.m. They had to kick him out of the gym. The Sixers had to meet with him, get Doc involved to get him out of the gym. He's showing it that he's just going to continue to soar. So I'm so excited for Maxey.
He was 3 of 3 inside the paint. No surprise there. Dude is just elite tier when it comes to attacking the paint there. 2 of 4 from 3-point range. You kind of touched on this, Sean. Well, let's talk about a little bit about Tyrese Maxey projecting into this season. But let me get in some comments. Mike says, damn, I've missed the Sixers so much. Me too, man. Mr. Rudy Poo, has been a while. Simmons missing his 2 free throws as there were Sixers fans booing him in the stadium. That was terrific. And I will say, it sounded very much like the Nets paid guys to be in that stadium rooting for that guy because that seemed fake to me. 100% fake. Hemi Han says Sixers look good. My man Quentin says, other than Harden, who are the playmakers on this team? That is definitely one of the biggest question marks heading into this. You have James, you have Tyrese, you have Embiid, but after that, like who is going to be your go-to guys there? But I want to touch on Tyrese Maxey because you touched on it a little bit, Sean. Is like we know this dude is just electric in the catch and shoot. We know this dude is elite when it comes to attacking the basket, but like, what kind of steps do you want to see this guy take in 2023? Is it his on-ball defense? Is it his getting others involved? Like, what defines another leap forward for Maxey for you, Sean?
Yeah, I think long term it is the playmaking potential if he can grow into a true point guard role. Right now, with James Harden next to him, it takes pretty much all those responsibilities off his shoulders, which I think is a great thing. We saw that last year when Harden arrived, his points per game rose by about 2 points per game on more efficient clips because of just getting more open looks. But I think it is that just like being able to make other guys better, and some of that comes with the gravity that he brings on. The more respect that he demands as a scorer will grab more attention, bring more guys his way, and allow him to open people up more. So I think some of it is just like the continue to let him play, let him get more minutes, let him develop, and that'll happen naturally. But I think that would be the one point I am looking for, because really offensively outside of that, there isn't a lot more you can ask for him. I mean, he was third in the NBA in 3-point percentage last year. We see what he can do finishing around the basket. Defensively, I thought he was very good today. I thought he was active, got his hands in there. He tries. He's obviously a little bit smaller, so there's going to be some limitations, but I think playmaking is the long-term goal.
That is absolutely where I'm looking at. I know in the pecking order, the ball is going to go to James Harden 100% in this offense. But the dude was really good in the pick and roll, 90th percentile, over 1.0 points per possession in the pick and roll. I want to see more of that, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. What about you, Freddie?
I think more or less he has to accept the role of stardom. There were times last year and even in the playoffs, like when Harden and Embiid are off the floor, he kind of takes over, where I feel like he has to continue to have that mentality when Harden and Embiid are on the floor to have a true big three, as opposed to, being a little shy. So I would like to see that happen. Even Harden talked about it. He's always smiling, always happy. He needs to bring a little more of that anger, that meanness to him, that, it's fun in games, and I like that about him, but I want him to take it to a new level.
All right, let's roll on to, I think, the next biggest topic, and that is Benjamin frickin' Simmons playing. I think it was his debut for the Nets. I'm pretty sure here, and he had 6 points. He had 3 buckets, all 3 in the paint. He was missing free throws. Before I give my thoughts, I'll throw it to you, Freddie. What was your thoughts on Ben Simmons tonight?
His game has not changed one bit whatsoever, and it's kind of relieving in a sense, because in the back of your head, you always think if he does put that together, how good he could be. And now he's a net, and I know he forced his way out, but he's the same guy. And you could see they had Tobias Harris on him, Niang, Paul Reed at times, and the respect he was given, the respect that he deserves, that they really don't care who's guarding him. I mean, Harris is a good defender, but I just was you saw him in the lane taking ridiculous, stupid shots, and then other times he had the open chances and he missed those, driving to the lane, missed layups. But again, he's good in transition, had a behind the back pass. You're going to see those things, hit a guy in the corner for 3. But exactly the same Ben Simmons that left here. And if he can't hit free throws, which he went 0 for 2 tonight, it's not going to matter. He's just going to be the same guy.
He's the same guy, 100%. Like all this entire season, off season, all those practice highlight reels during the summer, it doesn't mean anything. It's the same vibe. I agree. Freddie, what about you, Sean?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's relieving in the sense of just not having to talk ourselves into it again too. Like we've been through this cycle year in and year out of if he can just add this, if he can switch this in his game, it changes the whole trajectory of the team. In reality, he's in a much better spot with the Nets than he ever was with the Sixers, just in what he's going to be asked to do and role-wise. He's never going to be a guy who can create his own shot, do his own thing. He's not going to have to do that as much next to Kyrie and KD, but the limitations that he has in his game are still there. Don't look like they've been worked on, and they are crippling weaknesses when it comes to postseason and stuff like that. So it was kind of nice to see him in a different uniform tonight.
I absolutely agree. Let's roll on to, I think, one of the things this offseason we have talked about was adding toughness, forcing turnovers, getting more rebounds, taking more threes. The Sixers had half as many three-pointers attempted in the first half as they did entire games in 2021. The Sixers ended up taking how many threes? They took up, let me see real quick, 44 three-pointers. I think they averaged somewhere in the like low to mid 30s last season. You look at forcing turnovers, they had 27 first turnovers. They had 20 steals, led by DeAnthony Melton, who had 3. And then, I mean, let's talk about just kind of the vibe of this roster, just general first impressions. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I thought they looked much more willing off the catch and shoot from 3 points, specifically Tobias Harris. I especially thought that about. Saw Matisse Thybulle looking more comfortable with it. I do think Thybulle deserves some credit. The shot does look a little different. He looks much more wrist oriented. It's not as slow, and he talked a lot about cutting out motion from it this offseason, and I do think he accomplished that. So I was impressed to see that. That definitely changes the ceiling of his game. So I'm hoping that continues with Matisse into the regular season. Obviously, just 1 of 3 tonight. So we got to see more volume for that to continue. I am a little curious with Embiid and Harden returning, how much the pace of things changed, because I think we saw a lot of off-ball movement tonight, a lot of guys running around catching off screens, which excites me a ton. Both Harden and Embiid are pretty just slow in their nature in terms of how they make their decisions, how much they dribble, hold on to the ball. So I want to make sure this kind of stays. I want to see that built off. And Maxey was obviously the guy today who pace is his middle name in pushing things. So I think that kind of forced it that way. But there's a lot to build off and a lot I liked. And I hope that translates to when the 2 superstars step back on the court.
That's such a great point, because you had no Joel Embiid, you had no James Harden. That chemistry between those two in the pick and roll is everything this season, and how that grows. So that's a great point. What about you, Freddie?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was thinking that as well, watching as how they were flying up and down the court. That's just not going to be the game we're going to see with Harden and Embiid. You know how Harden likes to dribble, kind of see the floor, what's going on, and then make his decision. But I will say that I think I'm excited as far as like that second unit. It might be a little more exciting, high flying, so that you kind of get a little change of pace when they come in there. I liked what I saw from DeAnthony Melton defensively, no doubt about it. I know that's what he's coming here for. I was a little disappointed offensively. Not that he was missing shots, but he seemed a couple dribbled off his leg the one time. He didn't seem. He seemed a little. I wasn't impressed there. And then Thybulle, I do agree. The 3 looks different. It's not as hesitant, but again, he showed all them videos of him dribbling all season, and he still can't dribble. So I'm excited. The toughness will be there. Montrezl Harrell, he fouls out. I mean, talk about Paul Reed having someone to learn from. We're trying to get Paul Reed away from the fouls, and then Montrezl Harrell just comes in and does the same damn thing. But I love his toughness, and he had 10 points, 6 boards. So for a preseason game, yeah, that they didn't look like crap, and we've had preseason games where we're like, so I was happy.
Quinn says Point Maz looked really good. Point Maz lit it up during the third quarter. I think he had 10 points. 10 points, and some of those shots were pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie, they were pretty nice.
One thing on Korkmaz, though, like that's not his game. That's not what we want him for in the game, though. Like we need him to be catching, shooting threes. So when he does this stuff in the G League or over in European or in the third quarter of a preseason game, driving to the lane, that's not what I want. I want to see him hitting threes, because that's the role we need him in for this team to win. The
truth of Korkmaz is just too streaky. He just goes through too many consistently terrible streaks where he's on fire. He'll win you a couple regular season games, and then you're not going to see him for months because he just goes through a cold streak. We got Pick Swap Media in the house. I wonder who that is. So what's going on, Sixers fans? How are we feeling after time? I'm feeling good. I mean, how do you not feel good? I mean, pretty much the entire Nets starters were out there, and the Sixers were running them. By the way, that stretch where the Nets came back against the Sixers in this game Mr. Ben Simmons was on the bench for the majority of that run. Just
Yeah.
don't forget that before all these Nets people are going to freak out about Benjamin Simmons. Let's go into a couple Sixers debuts here. We've got Montrezl Harrell, and we've got DeAnthony Melton. Let's start off with Montrezl Harrell, who I was really impressed by. I think he had like 8 points from the jump. Looked great running to the basket. Way more offensively gifted than I expected, at least on my end. I loved his energy. I loved his motor. It was visible from the jump. And like, when's the last time the Sixers had like an offensively minded center like that can play some 5 minutes this season? I was really impressed by Montrezl Harrell. I'll throw it to you, Freddie.
I don't gamble anymore, but I used to be a very, very big gambler. So there were many nights I would watch Montrezl Harrell over on the West Coast, whether betting for him or against him. He killed me a few games. So I was very excited with that signing. And I liked your tweet, Dibes, which I agree with. Reggie Evans with an offensive game. I said that, though, even on our own EOP show. And you're the only other person I've heard say that. And I agree. Like, it's got that grit of Reggie Evans, except he can actually play offense and make his free throws. So I love Montrezl Harrell. I think he's going to be a great fit here. And I also think the good thing is you have him and Paul Reed now in that spot, kind of. So you got 12 fouls.
Yeah. Yeah. And to jump in, I'll say I was even like a little bit underwhelmed with what I saw from Montrezl tonight. I have a pretty high bar for kind of what I expect. I think we're only kind of scratching the tip of the iceberg for what he can do offensively. Like, this is a guy that averaged 18.6 points per game in his season, and he is legitimately like a backup big that you can play through. And that's my biggest excitement with the signing is when you look at the track record for who the Sixers have brought in as backup big man, you know, the Dwight Howards, the Andre Drummonds, the DeAndre Jordans, the best case scenario offensively for these guys was catching a lob or getting a putback dunk. Like, Montrezl is a guy you can literally give it to and just say, like, go get a basket, and he's capable of doing that. So that's something that's exciting. He's going to be a Sixers fan favorite, no doubt about it. He's going to be like a rim rocking dunk. I want to get him more involved in the pick and roll. He had a couple nice flashes tonight, but he can do more of that. And he's a better passer than he gets credit for. He had 3 assists tonight. It's going to be nice where he touches the 5-6. Like, I'm very excited for what he's going to bring offensively, and that's a huge addition to the second unit. So obviously you don't want to see the fouls like it was tonight, but I'm thrilled that he's on the team.
Me too. That potential duo with him and Harden in that second unit is really intriguing. I mean, he's been consistently excellent rolling to the basket in the pick and roll. That's going to be really fun to watch. We've got Larry in the house saying Tyrese Maxey destroyed KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons by himself. In the first half, I tweeted this. Those 3 played over 55 minutes. Tyrese Maxey played 3 and only had 8 less points than those 3. Tyrese Maxey, like you said, Larry, is a superstar. Douglas chimes in. Ben still can shoot. Love it, man. I love it. If this is I also tweeted this. Like, we saw Ben play some minutes at the 5 for the Nets. Could you imagine in Philadelphia, Ben playing some spot minutes at the 5? And Joel Embiid subs in, and you've got those two going at each other for a few possessions. That would bring the house down. I'm just like dying for that. Absolutely. But real quick on Montrezl Harrell, there was a moment in this game that just screams. It's so screamed Philadelphia to me. He was laying on the ground, and one of the Nets players comes over and tries to help him up, and he just literally just swipes the hand. The Nets player's hand around, like, get away from me. Get away.
That. Yes.
It was so great. You know, we all we heard this offseason was toughness, grit, scrappiness. I think Harrell is going to embody that very, very much. Quentin says, I can't wait to see Ben defending and beat him. Oh, my God. I'm getting, like, goosebumps just, like thinking about that.
Yeah, and my favorite part about it is the same way that we're all excited about it and can't wait. I guarantee Joel Embiid feels the exact same way. Like, he's thinking the exact same thing is like, this is barbecue chicken. I'm taking this every single time, and I can't wait to see it because it's going to happen. I really do think it will.
Douglas says Embiid would shit on Ben, especially. All right. Let's go into DeAnthony Melton. Freddie, you kind of touched on it. He had 5 points, 3 steals, also 3 turnovers. I thought defensively he was excellent. He's arguably my favorite addition to the Sixers. going into this season. I was a little, like Freddie said, curious, more so curious about his ball handling, about his playmaking ability, about his potential as a secondary ball handler, that kind of stuff. And he was at times a little sloppy. I'll throw it to you, Sean, first. What were your first impressions of DeAnthony Melton?
Yeah, I thought defensively it's there. The instincts are there. The wingspan's there. The activity. He got his hands everywhere where they needed to be. Offensively, he was not shy. 1 for 7 from 3, 2 for 10 from the field. I thought he tried to do a little bit too much. That really was not him in Memphis. He was pretty content playing within his role, did his thing. So I thought he just tried to do a little bit too much in general tonight. But overall, like, you see what he can bring to this Sixers team. I thought the ball handling was a little bit better than I expected. He looked to have kind of the ability to be a secondary ball handler, which is very important to this team.
Yeah.
It's something that they really should be looking for and targeting and hoping he can be. So in that regard, very positive. He'll find his role. I'm not at all worried about like the shooting tonight, but I don't think it was the best DeAnthony Melton performance overall.
Yeah, his development as a passer is going to be a really fun thing to watch because we already know he fits in beautifully well with Maxey, with Harden defensively, and then his ability in the catch and shoot and spot up are outstanding. What about you, Freddie?
Yeah, as I touched on, I was underwhelmed offensively, but defensively, like Sean said, the instincts were there. That steal off Ben. If you watch that, it looks like Paul Reed made the steal, but his hands are so quick that he just deflected it that quick. And so I'm excited to see that. I think his role would be, I don't know, is it going to be 6th man, 7th man? I would like to. I'm really excited to have a bench finally, and him off the bench is definitely going to be, because like what we've been dealing with for these past years have been so egregious, and it's going to be nice to have veteran players that can play the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's just. Oh, go ahead, Sean. Yeah.
Think about guys like Shake Milton and Georges Niang were like 6 men on this team like as recently as last year. And these guys are still on this roster. And like there's like 3 to 4 guys that have leaped ahead of them on the depth chart. And that's just like such a clear indication of how much deeper this team has gotten. And that's just awesome. We want that. We want competition. And that's what we asked for. And it looks like the goal was accomplished.
Yeah, especially for like Georges Niang. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes more. I think guys are going to fit in their roles a lot better this season. Let's go bottom to top and just give a shout out to a guy that you liked or didn't like before we get into player of the game. Go ahead, Freddie.
I'm going to say I liked Isaiah Joe, and I really think he needs to be in before Korkmaz. We need a shooter off the bench. It's got to be someone that can just knock down shots, and he wasn't hesitant. He missed a few, but he knocked down the first 2 threes, I believe, which was with the starters, I believe. I forget who was on the floor, but it was definitely second quarter. Isaiah Joe, and I'm looking for him to take the next step this year.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I'll get this shout out of the way because I'm worried he won't be on the team much longer. But to my guy, Trevlin Queen, broke my heart seeing the head injury tonight. I thought he looked okay while he was in there. I really do believe in this guy from like a fit perspective. I think he's an NBA talent, and I wish there was a spot for him. I don't see it happening, but looked all right. 2 for 4 from the field, had 2 assists. Wasn't bad overall, and he's just got that a little jazz to him that I really like. And I wish he didn't get injured. I wish he had a full chance tonight, but I don't think the Trevlin Queen road ends in Philadelphia.
Didn't they sign him to a multi-year deal though?
Yeah, but it's non-guaranteed, so they can cut him and. Yeah. Essentially, they're gonna cut him, give him $300,000, and call it a year.
Love it. Fidel Castro of the strip club chimed in. And that's my shout out was Julian Champagny. Like this was a guy who was basically a non-factor offensively throughout the summer league. Comes into this game, hits a couple threes, makes some defensive plays. I was like, where the heck was this dude during last year's summer league? Because the Sixers needed offense many times. Yeah. And he was just way more aggressive, way more active offensively, defensively. This was the guy I was really excited to watch coming into the summer league, and he was a bit of a disappointment. Today, 15 points, man. Nice season debut with the Sixers in the preseason. Julian Champagny is absolutely my shout out for this one.
To touch on that, he had 7 3-point attempts tonight, which is tied for the most on the Sixers. One of the things that frustrated me, like this summer league watching, is it seemed like he was unwilling to shoot. Like he was a guy that, like, your rep's a 3-and-D shooter. You got to either like go out shooting or at least try it. It looked like he kind of lost confidence in like almost disinterested in shooting at times during Summer League. That was not at all the case tonight. He was seeking his shot. He threw up a couple that were a little bit contested too, and it was all stuff I love to see. So it was night and day, the player that we saw in Summer League.
It's great. It was great. We have Al saying, I love knowing Simmons still can shoot. What are your feelings on Montrezl Harrell? We kind of just a little bit ago just went into Montrezl Harrell and our impressions.
You're late, Al. You're late. You're late, Al.
Very, very positive on his debut here. Looked great inside the paint, rolling to the basket, showing us that toughness and that grit that they really targeted to add to this roster. Quentin chimes in. Who's starting with Embiid, Harden, Maxey, and Harris? Any quick thoughts on that, guys?
It's going to be Tucker. I think it is going to be Tucker. I would like for them to experiment with Melton out there. I would like to see what that looks like. I think a Maxey and Melton as the two in the Maxey, Melton, Harden backcourt could be pretty fun. I think they should play around with it more than I expect them to, but I think the short answer is going to be PJ Tucker.
It's 100% PJ Tucker. He's making more money than everyone else, and he's got the Doc Rivers veteran about him going for him. Doc Rivers is gonna play PJ Tucker. It doesn't matter if it's at the 3 or the 4 or the 5. He's gonna be out there on the court somewhere. That's how I look at this. What about you, Freddie?
Yeah, they didn't sign him to 3 years, 30 whatever million it was to come off the bench. I think Tucker's definitely the starter, and DeAnthony Melton will come off the bench. So probably first man. I don't. Who else do you see? Is there another option as for 6 man for you guys?
I mean, Melton. Sean touched on Melton a little bit. I definitely think there are times when Melton might fit really well in that backcourt. Thibault sometimes, depending on matchups, could be an option. I don't know. I'm not that high on Matisse Thybulle. I'm probably a little bit lesser than maybe Sean is. There were some great passes made to Matisse Thybulle cutting to the basket, and it bounces right off his hands every single freaking time. So yeah, I agree. I'm glad he put up three pointers, but at the end of the day, I just don't know. He's just such an enigma offensively. Yeah, any thoughts?
Yeah, for my full stance on Thybulle is I'm still trade him if you can. I think the simple solution to this team is if you can package a Matisse Thybulle, Furkan, and whatever other scraps for one more valuable role player, you absolutely do it, and I think that should be the goal. But looking at the team as a whole, I do think there's some weight. I know it'll never happen, but I think there is a world where the best Sixers team is playing Tobias Harris as a high value 6-man, giving it to Tucker as the true 4. Again, I don't think this actually happens, but I think that would be a fun kind of lineup to play around with it. You can get something more well-rounded, but I don't know. It's nice to have this problem with the Sixers team that you're a little worried with, who can't you leave out versus what are you missing?
Yeah, it's something that Doc didn't do at all. He didn't do enough of lineup experimentation and things like that. And that's why Paul Reed in the playoffs was kind of just thrown into the fire and different little things like that I hope we kind of get more data and more tape on in terms of lineup combinations. Chris Coyle's in the house saying, I guess Stott hit a home run. Let's go. There it is. Quinn says, I've given up on Thybulle, Milton, and Joe. I agree with the first two. I'm also not in on Shake Milton either. I think they're gonna try and play him on ball a lot as well. I've seen enough when it comes to Shake Milton. And Isaiah Joe, I'm not done with Isaiah Joe. I think he definitely has a role on this team. It just like Korkmaz, it just depends because we know he's gonna have a short leash. What does he come out the gates shooting consistently from 3? That is everything. Because the second that he is cold, Doc is sending him right back to the bench. And another Kyle Schwarber bomb. All right, there you go. Back-to-back bombs for the Phillies. All right, let's get into our player of the game. Lead us off, Freddie. Go ahead, man.
I mean, do I take the layup? I got to take the layup, I guess. I mean, how can he not be? I mean, Tyrese Maxey ran the Brooklyn Nets starters out of the gym, essentially. And he didn't have Harden or Embiid on the floor. And he was just super aggressive. He's showing that he's worked his butt off and taken the next step. No doubt about it. I think it has to be Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I'm glad you took Maxey because I could not take my guy B-Ball Paul.
No.
Shout out B-Ball Paul, most minutes of anybody on the Sixers tonight. Ended with 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. He's getting better. Like he's improving. And I've talked about like the biggest issues with B-Ball Paul are all things like workable, all things that just with more time he can improve on. And we're starting to see that. Like the rolling looked nice tonight. The effort's always there. He's just pure madness and he makes things happen. And I just love it. So I'm happy to see him keeping his head up, continuing to grind, even as the Sixers continue to bring in just more and more competition for him. And he's earned a role. I'm happy he got the start tonight, and I'm happy that he looked good.
Yeah, my winner, my player of the game is definitely Montrezl Harrell. That's a guy I was a little bit unsure about moving in because you know, Sean, how much I love me some B-Ball Paul.
Yeah.
And I was really curious about how much time that's going to take away from Paul Reed heading into this season. I was really impressed with Harrell. I was invested from the jump. He was active on both ends of the floor. I'm in. Count me in. And he only had 10 points, but he was a plus 13. He again very active. Rolling to the basket and things like that. And I think that's just the appetizer. When we get James Harden on the court, it's going to get really interesting, especially with his abilities in the pick and roll. So that pretty much is it, guys. If you're watching, leave us some final thoughts and comments. We'll put them up here on the show. I'll throw it to you, Freddie. Final thoughts and plugs. Let's wrap this up.
I'm just excited. I want to see the grit, the grind. I mean, you can't ask for much more out of an opening preseason game where the Nets played their starters for a majority of the game to, dominate essentially. And really the first half is what I'm talking about. So that's where and as far as plugs go, check out the Painted Line, check out Edge of Philly Sports everywhere. Post games, Eagles, Flyers, Phillies. It's good stuff going.
Love it, love it, love it. Go check out EOPsports.com, Edge of Philly Sports, anywhere you check out your podcasts and shows, YouTube, Facebook, all that. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. It's awesome just to have Sixers basketball back. It felt good to just sit back and watch it tonight. So I'm excited for what the season's going to be. Ready to check back in on Wednesday. As far as where you can find me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. You can check out all my written work on heavy.com as well as Yardbarker for some Sixers stuff. And check out Pick Swap Media for a bunch of just NBA, Sixers, everything you want for content. Eagles, Phillies, we got a little bit of everything coming out there. Dropped our Eastern Conference rankings tonight. Me and had out Ryan Coyle. So give that a look on YouTube and check it out.
Amazing stuff over there at Pick Swap Media and the Pick Swap Podcast. Guys, if you love the Sixers, go subscribe. I'm excited too. I don't get it. Like, I think there's like a majority of the Sixers fans that are like pretty much in wait and see mode. Like the regular season is the regular season. I think pretty much not every, but a lot of Sixers fans are like, let's see what happens with Doc Rivers in the playoffs. I like this squad. This is the most excited about the Sixers squad I've been in a long time. And I think it's going to be a really fun season. So guys, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you all to everyone who commented. Please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe wherever you're watching, like wherever you're watching. For my man Sean over there, he is at Sean_Bernard. My man down there, he is Freddie at FreddieBird_. Exactly. Quentin says we still have Doc, so there it is. That was exactly what I was looking for. But again, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday night where we break down our top takeaways and everything else. So for Sean, for Freddie, for myself, stay awesome, everyone.